All right, welcome back to another match from the rounds of 16 of the NRG Series MTGO Invitational. I'm Joe Lossett, joined by Simon Kamerow, and this match we're going to be watching Jack Cummins play against John Phillip Whetstone.
Yeah, super excited. We've got a couple of really fast decks here, so let's take a look first at what John P. Whetstone's working with.
When you say really fast, now, how fast do you actually mean when you say really fast? Well, John Phillip Whetstone playing Burn. This is a pretty fast deck. We're probably looking to Goldfish on turn 4 at the latest. Or not at the latest, but turn 4. Maybe there's some turn 3 kills that can spring out of here. But we're looking at fairly stock stuff. We have haste 1-drop creatures with Goblin Guide, Swift Spear. We have Eidolon and the Great Revel. We have a bunch of burn spells. And that is the deck.
And notably, among those burn spells, this is going to be important in a second, no main deck copies of Skullcrack anywhere to be seen.
Now, why is it that you think that's going to be relevant in this matchup?
Well, hold on one second. Before we take a look at Jack Cummins' deck list, let's take a minute to get to know him. Jack Cummins at Jumping Mees on Twitter. He's a 22-year-old, originally from the UK, but he's now stateside and really cleaning things up on the Nerd Rage series. He was a championship competitor alongside yours truly in 2019. He competed on the Players Tour at Phoenix, and he won the 2020 NRG Series with a deck that I think has now been banned. So he's got 4 top 8s and a win, but he's really played Magic all around the world. He's a Brit. He learned to play Magic in Kathmandu. And, you can read these other fast facts to learn a lot about this wild guy. However, even wilder than this life, the Neoform deck. Now, Joe, how does this deck win the game real quick?
All right, so this deck wins very quickly by drawing a whole pile of cards with Gristlebrand, gaining some life by pitching random gigantic green monsters to Nourishing Shoal, and then drawing more cards.
Just draw your whole deck.
And then,
you don't really need to win the game from that point, right?
Well, and then we have a very basic Laboratory Maniac. That's it. Which really, in a deck where the total combined power of this deck is like 180 from the creatures, and yet we're winning by a game rule. We're not winning by combat or damage. This is disappointing, and yet it functions. It's very fast. It's brutal, and you know a lot about this deck. So what's some more insight we have here?
So I think there are a couple of interesting deck building decisions here. The first one, you're going to see 2 Veil of Summers. This deck just needs kind of random green cards to cast Allosaurus Rider, and you've even seen cards like Dissenter's Deliverance in the past. So Veil of Summer, that's no good. Main deck Life Goes On, gain 8 life, that's pretty good against Burn if you can get that going. What's also interesting about Jack's deck list, he's gone with Glittering Wish, so you only see 3 Neoforms in the main deck. The 4th is in the sideboard. A couple of other targets that he might be looking for in a matchup like this, there's some copies of Abrupt Decay, and there's an Eladamri's Call that can go get a big creature in a pinch. So what we're really going to see here is how much life can Nourishing Shoal gain?
This has got to be this deck uses life to combo out, so its life total matters. So the fact that Burn does a lot of damage quickly isn't, ideal. On the other hand, this deck has so much life gain main deck that Burn can't have an easy time of it. Do you have an idea who's favored here?
So I would call this matchup a bit of a coin flip, but I think it's weighted towards Jack and the Neoform deck. I think the fact that if Jack is on the play, or if he's able to steal the play with Chancellor of the Tangle, his deck is just going to be a little too fast for Burn to really turn the match.
That's what I think also, but you never know. Let's see how things play out.
Yeah. Definitely worth mentioning as we go down to game 1 here, Burn is a much more consistent deck than Neoform. Now, the London Mulligan has supercharged this Neoform deck.
Now, it's important, I feel like, that we make statements that have merit, that are reasonably valuable statements for our viewers to listen to. You're saying that Burn is more consistent than Neobrand. Would it be fair to say that every single deck in Modern is more consistent than Neobrand?
I think that the Grishol brand through the Breach decks are probably about the exact same tier, but you're right. Like 99% of decks in Modern, Burn is a more consistent deck at executing its game plan than Neobrand or Neoform. And here we see already, is this hand to keep? I don't know. Probably, right? It's maybe.
Well, let's see. We have 1, 2. See, you're probably. Oh, wait a second here. Is this a turn 1 kill and you're just screwing with me?
No, I mean, you know what? You did the math faster than me, but this is 100% a turn 1 kill, right? Because Chancellor, Neoform, Summoner's Pact, the 2 green cards. Yeah, I can see why Jack picked this deck for the tournament. Seems like he's going to be taking some game actions in a second.
Now, so this is something we're talking about. So this deck is not consistent, like you said. The trade-off for being not consistent is ridiculous power. And I think with my inexperienced Neoform self, looking at this hand, this looks very good.
Yeah, now here's a rarely seen but never good phrase of Magic the Gathering online. Chancellor of the Tangle has entered the revealed card zone. Okay, so at least John's going to get a play here. He gets to do 3 damage.
Awesome. Hopefully he's very satisfied and feels good about that, because he might not get to do much else.
Yeah, and another Simian Spirit Guide. I don't think initial mana is the problem anymore. I think that just not misclicking is going to be the problem from here on out. I guess he could also fail. Jack could fail at drawing Nourishing Shoal, which is the key card for regaining life that lets the Neoform player continue drawing cards with Gristlebrand. But he gets 14 cards here.
All right, so 14. So now we're at the mercy of the deck. We need 14 cards to gain some life. I don't think we can stop, right? We have to just go.
I would actually stop. This just occurred to me, but think about it. What are they going to do? You have an 8/8 Gristlebrand in play. Oh, well, okay. You can gain 8 life. That's pretty good. And so this is sort of the risk of continuing to go for it. But basically, if your opponent goes turn 1 Mountain, Lava Spike, what are the odds that they're going to be able to kill an 8/8?
Right. I'm totally on board with you. This, I feel like I've made an error in my predictions on how this turn would play out, and passing seems like would have been great. Now, I guess we can. Do we actually life goes on? We
life goes on and we hit. Oh, the game is over for sure now, because if you can look. Yeah, so it's a little academic from here. What's going to happen is that Nourishing Shoals are going to get cast for a ton of life, at least 7 life it looks like. I don't know if Chancellor of the Tangle... Oh, it looks like Chancellor is also 7. So each one of these is another activation of Gristlebrand. At some point, the Simian Spirit Guides are going to be used... Well, the remaining Simian Spirit Guide will be drawn, and the other Simian Spirit Guide in hand will be used. And that's going to generate the remaining mana necessary to cast Laboratory Maniac. Now, there's some weird pinch stuff. I think it's possible, technically. No, never mind. There's the other Simian Spirit Guide. And there's a Tocton Worm being cast.
Pre-game, we're talking about these decks, and we mentioned some of the big green creatures that you can exile to Nourishing Shoal to gain life, and Autocathon being one of them. And you said, be comfortable bringing up this card, because I know a lot about, and the word you said to describe the cards I had never even heard of.
Philology? It's historical etymology. It's how language develops over time. So it's a fun sort of social history. As we wrap up the game here, I'll give you the brief real quick. The term Autocathon or Autochton comes from ancient Greek, and it's used to refer to indigenous either people or flora or fauna of a land. The Greeks would go from city-state to city-state, and they would take stuff with them, but if somebody was a native of an area, they were from the earth, or autochtonic, Catan being an old root for the earth there. So a Tocton worm is either a native or it's a worm bursting out of the earth of Ravnica. You tell me.
All right. Well, that's certainly enough about that. Let's get to the sideboarding. But if you're watching at home and you're interested to know more about the Greek development of words or whatever Simon was just talking about right there, you can either look up the words Autocathon, perhaps, or philology or whatever it was he just said, or you could actually just ask him on Twitter. Meanwhile, KMC Sleeves, we want to shout them out. They're supporting the series. The top 4 finishers in the NRG MTGO Championship are going to receive a set of sleeves, as they are also supporting the events once we get back to having live events later in the year, barring the downfall of civilization to COVID-19. They do supply sleeves, and they're available at a discount at all the Nerd Rage gaming events taking place in the Midwest. Back to the sideboards. I'll cover the Burn sideboard for John Phillip Whetstone. What did you say? What is the descriptor of John Phillip Whetstone?
He described himself as an unretired burn master.
All right, unretired burn master, and definitely ready for the mirror, as he has 4 core firewalkers alongside 3 Path to Exiles, 3 Searing Blood, 3 Skullcrack, and 2 Exquisite Firecraft. Now, we don't have to guess, again, because we have the omniscient NRG coverage powers, and we can tell you exactly how he sideboarded. And what we saw happen here for John was he brought in his Skullcracks we obviously saw there's tons of life gain going on, so we brought in Skullcracks, and we brought in Path to Exiles with the probably ideal scenarios, or maybe not ideal, but Gristlebrand's in play, and like we saw in that game, once the sets of 7 were drawn, and then in response to Life Goes On, if there had been a Path to Exile on the Gristlebrand, Jack would have been stuck. So we're bringing in Skullcracks and Path to Exiles, and we're removing Lightning Helixes and Skewer the Critics, which, while they do damage, is just too slow.
Yeah. So on Jack's side, he actually made no changes, and you can see some of the cards on the bottom row, like Abrupt Decay, Eladamri's Call. These are cards that are designed to be grabbed with a Glittering Wish. But I'd be interested in getting these Leyline of Sanctities into the deck. It seems like even if it's not going to hit all the burn spells, turning off cards like Lava Spike, turning off Lightning Bolts to the face could be a really valuable effect.
Yeah, and really, the Skullcrack, I mean, I suppose that...
Oh, I've Skullcracked myself
Yeah, I was going to say, I suppose John could Skullcrack himself if the scenario arose, but really, I guess if we're not even bringing in the ley lines, then are they only there for discard then? Is that really the only purpose of the card?
I could see that. I've heard, though I haven't really played with the deck much myself, that these Neoform combo decks are pretty light to critical massive discard. So something like Jund or a Grixis Death Shadow, you would really want to be able to turn off all of those cards.
Okay.
But let's see how John fares in Game 2. He'll be on the play again.
All right. I want to see, do you think, can we get a long, drawn-out battle this game?
You know, definitely with the Path to Exiles, we have increased the likelihood of the game going to 4 turns, but I would still take the under on 5.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Like, you know, stages of games depend on matchups. And so
that's true.
Maybe the late game here is like turn 4.5. So it's unlike the, you know, some matchups, like you were saying, we see a Jund deck, maybe they're planning on going to like turn 14. Here, we're looking for, you know, if we have a slow developing start, maybe we're on turn 3, maybe turn 4.
And so, you know, along those lines, I think you could actually say the early game is the mulligans, and the early game has gone pretty poorly for Jack. He's going to be starting on 5. He has a really good 7, but it's going to be tough to figure out which of these he's going to craft a game plan with.
Yeah, and we did talk about this. This deck is obviously, as we saw in Game 1, very powerful, but inconsistent. And really, the way we see inconsistency demonstrated in the pregame of Magic is due to mulligans. And so Jack's starting 2 cards down here this game.
Right. Now, I hate to call it so quickly, but I wonder if he's going to be able to muster anything in time. I mean, are we going to just see like a 3/3 Allosaurus Rider at some point? You know, what's the game plan when you have to get scrappy with Neobrand?
That is beyond my experience as a player, but I imagine we're going to be holding this Allosaurus Rider as long as possible, so to avoid, because if we just drop it on the board and it gets killed, obviously we may as well just pack it in. So I think we're just hoping to draw either Neobrand or Eldritch Evolution, or Glittering Wish also fulfills what we need, right? So we're looking at 11 cards.
That really does show the value of adding Glittering Wish to this deck, because previous versions were playing cards like Serum Visions, or they had more cycling effects. But Glittering Wish being able to just go get the Neoform, Jack doesn't even need to draw a third land here to get his combo going.
Right, and it's slower, but when your deck is this fast, if you're like we were saying, if you're slower and you're only winning on turn 4, that's still going to be fast enough a lot of the time.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we're seeing Burn doing exactly what it wants to do in a matchup like this, where you're just goldfishing. Persistent source of damage coming across. Nothing really coming for Jack here. He's just drawing another mana source next turn. Doesn't really have anything to spend it on. And what I'd like to see here from John, I think this would be the one window where Eidolon would be a real KO.
I would almost say any creature would have been preferable there to any spell.
Yeah.
Maybe he's it's possible. If you obviously start on Goblin Guide game on turn 1. If you have Skullcrack, you just hold it up for the rest of the game. That's a possibility, right?
Yeah, I think you have to be afraid of how many copies of Life Goes On are there. Now, it could be one sequencing puzzles with Burn is the 1-drop versus 2-drop problem, where if you draw too many 2-drops, you just don't get to make decisions. You just have to choose the order you cast them in. You don't get to choose your sequencing. So it's going to be interesting as we guess at what's in John's hand here to try to figure out how can he most optimally play around a gain 7 or 8 at any point for 0 mana, some number of copies of the card Life Goes On, which can always gain at least 4 life, and a bunch of other weird fringe effects from a roguish deck.
Now, John does have the advantage here of knowing what... Now, he obviously doesn't know what cards Jack started with, but John knows what cards Jack is drawing every single turn, as a land has not been revealed yet to Goblin Guide. So John has full information on half the cards that Jack has available to him.
And you know what? Honestly, if I were Jack, I might have gained 7 there. I might do it right now again, too. I think you're just getting the situation where, and he's going to go for it. You just got to see if you can make this game last a little longer. You are so far behind now.
It's tough, though, because now without having... we reached a point where Jack is kind of stuck because he can't... Now if he draws one of the enabler cards, he can't get the Allosaurus Rider into play anymore.
Yeah.
So we may have reached a point where Jack is, even with great draws, may not be able to pull his way out of this.
You know what? I'll just come out and say it. This is the most relevant I've ever seen the difference between Simian Spirit Guide and Elvish Spirit Guide be. Elvish Spirit Guide, that Allosaurus Rider with a Neoform, you just get the party started immediately. Simian Spirit Guide, it's a red monkey. It's not helping anybody out.
You're absolutely right. So does that mean that that Jack should be playing Legacy instead of Modern right now, and he'd be, much better off?
I've lost to this deck in Legacy. I've lost to Neoform in Legacy.
Really?
Yeah. They also had Natural Order in their deck. It was pretty cool.
Jerks, man, that's not fair.
Yeah, well, listen, I play Enchantress, so if you're doing anything unfair to me in Legacy, that isn't just put a bunch of creatures into play on turn 7. You're probably beating me anyway.
You're the Enchantress guy, that's right. My first time doing coverage for Nerdbage was the 2018 championship, and you were there and you were playing. They're like, oh yeah, this guy's playing Legacy, Enchantress in Legacy. I was like, he's playing Enchantress? They're like, don't worry, he always plays Enchantress.
Yeah, well, I think something that really you can see here is that when you play an inconsistent but powerful linear deck like Neobrand or Enchantress, sometimes you'll lose to the more efficient decks in the format. And Jack is looking now. He drew the Glittering Wish, 6 turns too late. He could cast it, but he would have to take a point of damage off of City of Brass. So he's really got himself in sort of a no-win situation. We might see a Simian Spirit Guide enter the battlefield here.
Well, that would cost him 2 points, and potentially 2 from City of Brass plus the combination of the Eidolon and the City of Brass is really here, because for Glittering Wish we'll take 1 from City of Brass plus 2 from the Eidolon, leaving us at 6. Right. We'll take 4, putting us at 2, and then the Neoform would do the last 2. So even with no cards in hand, John would have this one set up. Okay, now here's an alternative. Jack is going to play the Allosaurus Rider preemptively because he doesn't have a choice, and now we have a blocker. The chances of this working are extremely low, but it gives him a chance.
Right, and I think that's all you can hope for here. Now, we'll see And maybe Jack will find out John boarded in 3 Path to Exiles. Has he just been sitting on one of them? Because this is where Path is going to look good. I like the board plan that John went with. He kind of boarded for the game to get weird, and this is a weird deck. It's not a consistent one. So giving yourself the ability to scrap a bit and close a close game, it can be really valuable.
So my swear
So
is
he shocks himself?
Swift Spirit being... So that wasn't a shock, that was the Eidolon trigger, but the Swift Spirit being cast here suggests to me that Jack is going to get another turn.
Yeah, it looks like he's not going to be able to close, although the combination of the City of Brass plus the Eidolon with Path to Exile getting the Allosaurus Rider out of the way, it's going to make it impossible for him to really cast anything of value.
They had to draw that out just long enough for me to make a completely incorrect prediction. They couldn't have finished that up a little earlier, huh? Okay.
No, they're playing with us. They're going fast. So let's talk sideboarding for Game 3. There are no changes for John here, but Jack is going to make a change. He cuts a Chancellor of the Tangle on the play and boards in a Pact of Negation.
Now, I don't know enough about the intricacies of the deck to know whether this is a change that would be made always, potentially, if you're going first. Is Chancellor less desirable, or is this just he's making this based on how the matchup is played out?
Yeah, I would imagine that Gemstone Caverns, which is a card I'm pretty familiar with, has similar heuristics to Chancellor, where when you're on the play, because the card is mostly designed to steal the play by giving you sort of 2 mana on the first turn, it goes down in value. Again, if I were Jack, I would be reaching for Leyline of Sanctity. I like the idea of Pact of Negation too, as a way to maybe stop a very unbeatable Skullcrack, but I think Leyline, it would have gained maybe 6 or 7 life that game, or 6 or 9 life that game if it had been in play.
Leyline definitely might have had an impact. The Pact also, yeah, you're right, it stops the Skullcrack, it also stops the Path to Exile on the Gristlebrand, if we get to that point. Another thing I'm just
That's huge, yeah.
Another thing I'm thinking about right now is that, not necessarily in regard to this match, but Leylines, I feel like, and it's another point of inconsistency in your deck. Especially when you don't have the mana to cast them. They're still powerful, but in a deck that's already mulling a lot, it's an additional source of, it's going to lead to, your mulligans are weak. Like on 7 cards, Leyline would be great. On 5 cards, it's going to be terrible because you're not going to have enough to actually deploy your combo. And I wonder if Jack thinks, well, I'm just fast enough that I don't need the protection. I'd rather have the consistency of not having an uncastable card in my deck.
I think especially on the play, that line makes a lot of sense, and I wonder overall if Leyline wouldn't be better served as maybe a high-value tutor target for Summoner's Pact or another powerful green card to keep your number of green cards up as you sideboard. But let's go down and see how this, basically goldfish matchup finishes out. So it looks like it's going to have to be another mulligan here for Cummins, and then looks like he's going to... he's keeping on 6, it looks like.
Both players on 6. So I feel like this is probably, given both players having the same number of cards, John would prefer that number being as low as possible.
Yes, 100%. And you know what? I think that this is a hand that Jack would have probably shipped on the draw, but I think you can keep it on the play simply because of how well it's going to curve here. He does need to draw a couple good ones in a row, but he's looking like a turn 3 if everything works out correctly.
No, we're stuck. We just need the Allosaurus Rider or access to it. So do we have?
Right, we can Glittering Wish for Eladamri's Call. I guess that doesn't get it fast enough though.
No, so there is a route to it. Okay, so that's what I was looking for. Basically, is what's our path to getting this done?
I hate to spoil what the draw step is, but it looks like Goblin Guide already did it for me. So there's our Allosaurus Rider, and now we just have the question of, okay, one more turn, right? We just go off next turn?
Right, so is there a Glittering Wish target that would make it more likely that we make it through the turn? Because if so, maybe we cast it now.
I can't think of anything. I think you just gotta pass. It's so weird, Eidolon wouldn't even really be that great here, honestly, because only one spell that cheap is going to get cast.
It's just a matter, as long as it's a green card you're fetching, it doesn't really matter, because then you could pitch it to Rider anyway.
Right. Yeah, something like an abrupt decay, maybe. Just in the weird case that something you don't expect gets tutored up, you can still pitch the abrupt decay, and you have the mana to cast it. But you know, see, this is the situation where it's like, if you're John, are you supposed to just leave up 2 mana for the rest of the game? What's your game plan from here on
I
out?
don't know, but he just got a lot of information right there. That Goblin Guide revealed Pact of Negation, which is, for one thing, probably the best card Jack could possibly draw this turn. But also, it would influence John if he, for example, if he had Eidolon and Path to Exile. Revealing Pact of Negation will tell him which play he needs to make.
Right. And so you talked earlier about the difference between a card like Leyline of Sanctity and a card like Pact of Negation. And you can see how powerful the single copy of Pact of Negation has been for Jack here. And he just completely gets to go off at his own thing. So now he gets one shot. If he misses, well, he missed.
Wait, you know what? I feel like I'm... Oh, right, because I was thinking whether we could have just passed, like you were saying in the other game, but you're right. Even with the Pact, we can't survive a Path to Exile anyway.
So now, yeah. Well, you're actually kind of in an okay situation here. No, you're not. You're in a pretty bad situation. I think you probably just have to hope there's no Path to Exile and pass the turn.
Yeah, as I think if there's no path, we're probably fine, so we can just pass, and then if there is, we're dead anyway.
So now I think you have to cast Pact of Negation. I'm not sure if you can actually win at instant speed, but I think you have to... No, there's no way to do it, because you can't quicken out one of your Neoforms.
We can't draw any cards. There's no way to draw into the Spirit Guides on upkeep, because even if we pact here, we can't draw until after we attack. So right. I think it's over here.
Yeah, that really showed you. It's kind of wild, but the burn deck was able to do enough damage to make the first -7 lethal in just 2 turns.
Yeah, so really if there had been if Jack had 2 more life, he could have drawn 7 more cards. And who knows? I mean, well, if he's one of those people that if he loses and then draws the next 7 cards to look, I'm not one of those people myself.
Oh, I always look. That's why they put us together. I always look. You never look.
I wouldn't if you're I'm not one of those. I don't want.
Oh, he's doing the look. He's looking and saying, what could possibly go right from here? Nothing else has been going right. He's going to get the land, though. You might as well get the value.
Okay, and then I believe we're going to 2 with the City of Brass in play. So... And we have our 2 lands in hand. One is another City of Brass, and the other one comes into play tapped.
We are only 4 mana sources away from Gristlebrand and a lot of life points. So it looks like John Phillip Whetstone's taking this one down.
That was nice of John to just bolt him there, because he definitely could have sat there with the bolt in hand and the island in play and let Jack untap and try and figure out what his options were before realizing he was just dead anyway.
Well, anyway, congratulations to John P. Whetstone for making it through to the Elite 8 from the left side of the bracket with Red, White, Burn. Condolences to Jack Cummins, but at least he got to have the turn 1 on camera.
Yeah, I mean, really, that may be a worthwhile trade-off. Sure, You lost the match, but you got to win on turn 1. That's okay.
And, make sure, if you like what you're seeing, to check out Nerd Rage Gaming, nerdragegaming.com. It's a great place to buy or sell your singles. And right now we're offering a great promo code, Stay Home, to get a little discount so that while you play Magic in quarantine, you don't have to play Magic without quality.
Yeah, and keep in mind that Nerd Rage Gaming is still functioning as an online sales portal during the pandemic that we're currently experiencing. So if you're looking for cards to play with at home, or if you're looking to get your decks ready for once things are free and clear, once this is all over with, you can go ahead and buy and sell cards currently. This is not something that needs to be postponed towards the future. We are open now. And so this concludes this match, and we've got 5 more matches to go in the round of 16, and we'll be back. And if, again, you're just joining, this is the first match you've seen, every day a match is going to be released as our progression through the tournament. And again, the players are playing for money to donate to the charity of their choice to help everyone get through what the world's experiencing right now. So thank you for joining us, and Simon and I will hope to see you around next time.